My wife's parents forced me sign a bad prenup. Then they go broke and my wife cheats on me. So her parents made a greedy prenup. Totally messes her up. Hey there, Reddit. This is the story of how my wife cheated on me and then got cheated on by the same prenup that her parents made me sign. Get rid of it since my kids utilize Reddit. This is what happened. So imagine this. 20 years ago, I was dating a girl named Fiona for 2 years. Head over heels in love. I think I'm sexy, __, because I just obtained a job as a logistics coordinator at a factory. Making good money, driving a Honda that was practically a fancy closet on wheels, and living in a studio apartment with a Murphy bed. Her parents are on the other end of the spectrum. Dad is a finance man who wears glasses that cost more than my rent for a month. Mom drives a Mercedes that she gets a new one every 3 years for safety. They live in one of those areas where every house seems like it was built by the same architect who really likes columns and circular drives. When I first meet them, I'm wearing my best khakis and a button-up shirt from Target. When her dad shakes my hand, it seems like a job interview. He says, "You must be the operations fellow," as if I work at a coal mine. I don't mind diamonds with my hands, buddy. I plan logistics. This whole thing was dinner. We're eating with the queen, therefore we have crystal glasses for water. 3 forks. Who needs 3 forks? My mom wants to know about my 5-year strategy and my investing portfolio. Lady, my investment portfolio is placing $20 in a savings account and hope my car doesn't break down. But this is where it gets good. About 6 months before I ask her to marry me, her dad pulls me aside at a family cookout. He says, "Son, I want to talk to you about protecting your assets." I think he's going to give me stock ideas or something. Not at all. This guy pulls out a leather portfolio, not a folder, and starts talking about prenups like he's trying to sell me a timeshare. He believes it's just good business. It's not personal. It just keeps everyone safe. When I finally ask, I'll pay for the ring over 18 months because I'm not stupid. Her parents want to talk to me. I thought we were going to talk about wedding locations or something else. I was wrong again. They have their lawyer there, sitting at the kitchen table with a folder. Not a folder or some papers, but a 3-ring binder with tabs and everything. It appeared like this gadget could fire missiles. The lawyer is speaking in that flat, boring voice that lawyers use when they want to sound polite but are ready to screw you. He claims this is just normal protection for both sides as he slides the binder over the table like it's a peace pact. When I read this, it's like reading stereo instructions written by someone who dislikes enjoyment. The property tab is blue. Giving up upkeep. Tab in red. It should have been a warning. Clause about cheating. Tab in orange. Yes, they actually did go there. Protection of inheritance. Tab in green. There was even a table of contents in it. Her dad is sitting there like this is entirely normal. Like every engagement has its own legal class. It's really not that hard. He says, "What's yours stays yours. What's hers stays hers." Simple and clear. The part about cheating was my favorite. If either party cheats and there is enough evidence to prove it, fancy lawyers say, "Yeah, we're pretty sure you did it." That person loses their right to attorney's fees. Her mom responds, "Well, if nobody's planning to cheat, it shouldn't matter, right?" With a smile that might ice hellfire. Thanks for the vote of confidence, Karen. I'm sitting there like, are you serious right now? But out loud I simply say, okay, I guess that makes sense. Then her dad gives her an ultimatum that is as warm as a parking ticket. There is no wedding if this isn't signed before the wedding. Straight up hostage negotiating. Sign or the princess will stay in the tower. That night I called my friend Bill, who was really angry. Man, they want me to sign a contract like I'm buying a house, not getting married to Fiona. Bill's answer, "Dude, if you're sure you won't cheat and you don't want her money, who cares? Sign the paper and marry the girl." That's how I got this lawyer for cheap. Guy works out of a strip mall that is next to a subway station and a nail salon. He says it's aggressive but not against the law. Pretty normal things for privileged people. Are you okay with the terms? I am 28 years old. I make a good amount of money. I really like this gal. And I don't plan to steal or cheat anyone. How hard could it be? Of course. Whatever. That's what people say before they die. We got married then. What a lovely wedding. Fiona's parents were in charge of every little thing, as if they were getting ready for the invasion of Normandy. I wanted a DJ. They hired a group of 4-string players. I wanted a bar that was open. They chose distinctive drinks that no one could say. But who cares? I married the girl, not the ceremony. Life was really good for the first several years. We moved into this small house in the suburbs to start out. It has 3 bedrooms and 2 bathrooms. It was built in the 1980s when everyone felt beige was the most stylish color. But it had a garage, a yard, and neighbors who didn't bother anyone. Great. The kids came after that. Claire came first, then Nate 2 years later, then Luke 2 years after that, and finally Julia. We had 4 kids in 8 years because we didn't have a TV, birth control, or self-discipline. It made logical for my wife to stay home with them. So I became the one who did all the work. I got up at 5:30 and went to the gym before work since that was the only time of day that was mine. There were a lot of promotions. Logistics manager, supply chain analyst, logistics supervisor, and supply chain manager. More responsibility, more hours, more __, and more money came with each level up. I was the kind of person who read the employee handbook, put the most money into my 401k, and learned every system inside and out. Not because I liked my job, but because I was good at numbers. More hours means more money, which means a better life for the family. We turned the house into our project. Spent the weekends at Home Depot. Because hiring contractors for every little thing keeps you broke, you should learn how to install ceiling fans and mend leaky taps. YouTube University taught me more about how to take care of my home than my dad ever did. The pattern for the weeknights was like clockwork. Come home, help with homework, eat supper, give baths to anyone who needed one, read bedtime stories, and then fall asleep on the couch. On weekends, I played soccer, went to birthday parties, went grocery shopping, and worked on home improvement projects that I thought I could do in one afternoon. The refinancing of the mortgage was great, though. The rates went down. We owned part of it. The credit score was good. Changed from a 30-year to a 15-year. The payment didn't alter much. That approach likely saved us $100,000 over the course of the loan. Fiona felt I was really smart. During this time, her parents were okay. They would come over, bring expensive gifts the kids didn't need, and say things like, "The neighborhood is so charming," in a way that meant anything but they seemed to like how we were doing things. Once, her dad even told me how nice my grass was. A lot of praise from a guy who pays someone else to mow his lawn. The prenup became a bizarre family joke. "Thank God you two signed that thing," her mom would say at Christmas dinner. "Keeps everything simple." Her dad would nod like it was his greatest achievement. Right up there with inventing fire. I just smile and change the subject. Fiona was good at the mom thing. I'll give her credit. She ran that house like a military operation. She knew every kid's teacher, every friend's parent, every schedule conflict 3 months in advance. I handled the money, the maintenance, the planning. She handled the logistics, the social stuff, the emotional heavy lifting. It worked. We paid off the house 3 years ago, 12 years ahead of the original 30-year schedule, right on track with the 15-year refi through every bonus, every tax refund, every spare dollar at that mortgage like it owed us money. The kids were growing up good. The house was ours. Work was stable. Money was steady. Normal problems, normal solutions. I thought we'd figured it out. Then her parents' money started disappearing and everything went sideways. Around year 15 of our marriage, I started noticing changes in her parents. Subtle at first, they stopped talking about their latest vacation or the new car. Then her dad started asking me about my 401k strategy and whether I thought gold was a smart hedge against inflation. Bad year in the markets became their go-to explanation for everything. Their country club membership lapsed temporarily. The vacation house in the mountains got sold to simplify things. The Mercedes got traded for a Honda. They still tried to keep up appearances, but you could see the cracks. Her dad, who used to talk about money like he was Warren Buffett's smarter brother, suddenly wanted to discuss conservative investment strategies and protecting principal. Translation: dude was scared shitless and had no idea what he was doing. Turns out playing rich guy is easier when you actually have money. Turns out they'd gone Allen on some investment scheme that sounded too good to be true because it was too good to be true. Something about emerging markets and guaranteed returns. When it went tits up, it took most of their liquid assets with it. Then came the lawsuits. Multiple lawsuits. Her dad was on both sides of some nasty legal suing the guys who sold him the bad investments while getting sued by other investors who thought he should have known better. Legal fees ate what the bad investments didn't. These weren't strip mall lawyers charging $300 for document review. These were white shoe firms billing $800 an hour to argue about who was responsible for what. Her parents were hemorrhaging money, fighting over money they'd already lost. My wife took it hard. She'd grown up thinking her parents were financially bulletproof, and now they were shopping at Target instead of Nordstrom. Not exactly a tragedy, but for someone who'd never seen her parents worry about money, it was like watching Superman get his ass kicked. She started spending more time helping her parents, which really meant sitting around their house talking about the good old days and complaining about lawyers. I got it. Family is family. But it also meant she was homeless, engaged less, present less. The kids were getting older and more independent. Claire was in college, Nate was in high school, Luke was in middle school, and Julia was in high school too. The intense hands-on parenting phase was winding down, and my wife was restless. That's when the finding herself phase started. First, it was a book club that met during the day, then yoga classes, then a pottery class, then some volunteer thing at the art museum. All perfectly normal stuff, except she was treating it like a full-time job. I'd come home from work and she'd be rushing out to some meeting or class or event. Don't wait up became her standard goodbye. I'd handle dinner with the kids, help with homework, do bedtime routine, then sit on the couch wondering when the hell my wife was coming home. When I asked about it, she'd get defensive. I spent 15 years raising your children and running your house. Now I want to do something for me, like I'd been holding her prisoner or something. Fair enough. I thought everyone deserves hobbies. But hobbies don't usually involve staying out until midnight 3 nights a week. The arguments started slow. Little passive-aggressive comments about appreciation and effort. She'd make dinner and then act like she'd perform surgery. I'd fix the garbage disposal and get a lecture about how I never noticed the things she did around the house. "You take me for granted" was her favorite line. Meanwhile, I'm working 50 hours a week handling all the finances, maintaining the house, and still showing up for every important kid event. But apparently, I wasn't emotionally present enough. I tried the date night thing, hired babysitters, made reservations, bought flowers, but it felt forced, like we were both performing instead of connecting. She'd spend half the dinner texting or talking about whatever drama was happening in her art museum volunteer group. The sex dried up around this time, too. It went from regular to occasional to special occasions only. When I'd bring it up, she'd say she was tired or stressed or not feeling appreciated. Classic catch-22. Can't feel close because we're not having sex. Can't have sex because we don't feel close. I own my part in this. I coasted on autopilot for too long. Work, house, kids, repeat. I figured if I kept handling my responsibilities, everything else would sort itself out. Wrong. But here's what pisses me off. I was still showing up, still working, still paying bills, still fixing still being a dad. I wasn't perfect, but I wasn't checked out either. I was doing what I thought marriage was supposed to be. Partnership, teamwork, building something together. She was doing something else. I just didn't know what yet. The really screwed up part. Her parents started warming up to me during this period. They'd always tolerated me, but now they were actually friendly. Asking about my work, complimenting the house, talking about how proud they were of the family we'd built. Her dad even said something like, "You've really provided stability for our daughter. That's not an easy thing to do these days." It was strange coming from a person who used to act like he was lucky to be able to breathe the same air as his daughter. You know how in movies the guy always finds out about the affair in a big way? Seeing them at a restaurant, walking in on them, or finding a love letter. Real life is a lot less interesting. I discovered out because her phone was vibrating on the kitchen counter as she was upstairs getting ready for another yoga night. A notification just lit up the screen when I was cleaning up after dinner. There was a name I didn't know and a picture I won't describe, but let's just say it wasn't from her yoga teacher. I didn't talk to her right away. I didn't yell, throw things, or make a disturbance. I did what any excellent manager of operations would do. I began to write things down. The first thing we did was go to our online cell phone account. Because we're on a family plan, I can get usage reports. 3 months of records made things quite plain. A lot of texts and calls came to a number I didn't know, mostly during work hours. Once you knew what to look for, the pattern was clear. After that, I looked at our credit card bills. It's amazing what you miss when you're not looking for it. Eating lunch with coworkers at eateries. I had never heard of hotel fees in the city center while she was meant to be at her book club. Small things you buy at hotel gift shops, such coffee, snacks, and things you buy to pass the time between room service and round 2. The true treasure was Find My iPhone. She had never turned off location sharing because there was no reason to. We're married, aren't we? There were no mysteries, save that her yoga studio had allegedly moved to the Marriott downtown and her book club met in the afternoons at some guy's apartment complex. I printed out everything. Made a timetable that would make a prosecutor envious. There was a folder with all the dates, times, places, and costs. She met the guy through her charity work and found out he was divorced. He just got divorced and has kids every other weekend, which is the entire midlife crisis deal. I found his social media very easy. He posted photographs of his motorcycle and words about living truthfully. Person who thinks deeply. This one presumably doesn't have any regrets tattoos on it. 3 weeks of watching reinforced what I already knew. She had a whole other life that I didn't know about. She went to yoga on Tuesday and Thursday, book club on Monday, and girls' night on Friday. All those late evenings, all those new interests that seemed strange, and all those fights about not feeling valued. I was trying to restore a marriage that was already ended, like bringing flowers to a funeral. The next morning, I called a lawyer. I brought in my evidence folder and a copy of our prenup. While I sat there, she read everything. How long have you thought? She asked. For sure, about a month. Maybe 6 months of thinking. Good paperwork. The prenup is cool. Giving up upkeep once the youngest child turns 18. And this clause about attorney's fees for cheating. That's not normal language. It was written by her parents' lawyer. She smiled. Well, their lawyer just became your closest friend with your 17-year-old. With this much evidence, you are in a very strong position. The question is whether you want to settle or go to court. What is the difference? Settlement is quicker and less expensive. Litigation takes longer and costs more. But with this prenup and the proof you have, you would probably get everything you're owed, plus her attorney's costs. I pondered about it for approximately 10 seconds. How quickly can we deliver papers? 2 weeks. If you want to do this right, do it right. That afternoon, I drove home and saw my house in a new way. 20 years of paying the mortgage, doing projects on the weekends, and living a typical family life. We raised our kids there, had birthday parties, and fought over who should take out the trash. It felt like a museum of a life that had already ended. But I wasn't sad about it. I was angry. Not just the infidelity, but also the lying, the manipulation, and the way she made me feel like I was the problem while she had a hidden boyfriend. About the years of my life I squandered trying to fix something that was already broken. What really got to me was she still came home every night like nothing had changed. Still whining about the dishes. Still asking how my day was. Still acting like a loving wife and mother. She was either a psychopath or she thought I was a complete _. Most likely both. The kids didn't know, and that's how it should have been. They were dealing with their own __ schoolmates, college applications, and other regular teenage problems. The last thing they needed to hear was that their mom was cheating on them with a divorced loser who rides a motorcycle to volunteer meetings. I acted like everything was normal on the outside. Still went to Nate's matches in wrestling. Still helped Luke write his college essays. Still made pancakes on Saturday mornings. I was counting down the days until the sheriff would knock on our door with a manila letter that would change everything. 2 weeks seemed like 2 years. But the day finally came. It happened when I was at work. I was in a meeting about how well suppliers did in the first quarter when my lawyer's text message came in. The service was done at 2:47 p.m. I ended the meeting, took care of some things, and drove home with my stomach in knots because I knew the following few hours were going to be a huge mess. I got to the driveway around 5:30. There was her car, which meant she had been served and was presumably inside calling every divorce lawyer in the phone book. The kids wouldn't be home for an hour. Right on time. When I stepped in the front door, she was sitting at the kitchen table with a paper spread out in front of her, like she was putting together a puzzle. Her eyes were crimson, her mascara was smudged, and tissues were all over the place. For a moment, I almost felt awful. Then I thought about how much the hotel would cost, and the feeling went away. "Really?" she said, looking up at me. "This is how you want to handle things? Papers served by a sheriff like I'm some kind of criminal? Have you lost your damn mind? That's how these things work. Nothing personal. Nothing personal. 20 years of marriage and 4 kids is nothing personal. Do you even hear yourself?" I set my keys on the counter and looked at her. This woman I'd loved, trusted, built a life with. Mother of my children. Now just another problem to be managed. "We can do this the easy way or the hard way," I told her. "Up to you." That's when the waterworks really started. Crying, apologizing, begging for counseling, promising it was just a mistake, swearing it didn't mean anything. The whole performance, if I hadn't seen the evidence with my own eyes, it might have been convincing. "I know about Jason," I said calmly. "I know about everything." Her face went white, busted. No more lies. No more gaslighting. No more pretending I was the crazy one for suspecting something was wrong. "No, it's not what you think. Stop. Just stop." I held up my hand. "All communication goes through the attorneys now. You can't be serious. We have children together. We can work this out. The children will be fine. We're both going to be fine. But we're not working anything out. This is over. You can't throw everything away over one mistake. Watch me. You crossed the line. Now deal with the consequences. 20 years. Doesn't that count for exactly, Fiona? 20 years weren't enough to teach you loyalty?" I went upstairs, changed clothes, came back down, and started making dinner like nothing had happened. She sat at the table crying and making phone calls to her parents, her sister, probably a few lawyers. The kids came home one by one. Julia first, bouncing in from soccer practice, dirty and happy. Then Nate, arguing with someone on his phone about something that happened at school. Finally, Luke, tired from his shift at the restaurant where he worked part-time. Normal family chaos. Someone asking what's for dinner. Someone else complaining about homework. For a few minutes, it felt like any other Tuesday night, except their mom was sitting at the kitchen table looking like someone had died, and I was stirring pasta sauce while mentally calculating how to divide 20 years of accumulated stuff into 2 separate lives. I waited until after dinner. Then I asked them all to sit down at the table. "Your mom and I are separating," I said. "No build-up, no sugar-coating. We still love you, but we won't be living together anymore. It's not because of anything you did. Be quiet." Julia started to cry right away. Even though she was 17, she was still the youngest in the family. Still thought her parents could do anything. First, Nate got mad. "What the heck, Dad?" Out of the blue. It didn't come out of nowhere. "Your mom and I have been having issues for a time." "Fix them," Luke said. He hadn't said anything until then, but now he was gazing at me like I had just said I was going to join the circus. "Figure it out. That's what individuals who are married do." I told them that certain problems can't be fixed. This is one of them. More tears, more questions, and more rage. I stuck to what I was told. Things we can't solve. "I love you all. Things stay the same for you. We'll figure out the details." I told them I would still be there for all of their games, concerts, and everything else they needed. What I didn't tell them was why. The cheating, the falsehoods, and the proof sitting in my lawyer's office were all adult things. They were still kids, even the ones who were old enough to vote. Fiona just sat there and cried. Not a word. She didn't try to defend herself, blame me, or assure the kids that we would work things out. Maybe she finally got that the problem couldn't be fixed. She tried everything over the next few days. Crying, begging, making deals, and making threats. She phoned my parents, my brother, my best friend, and anyone else she believed would be able to change my mind. About 50 times she advised counseling. She said she would break up with Jason. It didn't matter at all. I made my choice with my mind, not my heart. The heart part was done. Had been over for months, maybe even years. Now it was simply about getting things done. I moved into the guest room and began living like a tenant in my own home. Different timetables, different meals, and everything else. The kids got used to it faster than I thought they would. Teenagers may be very strong when they need to be. But then she began to use them to send messages. Tell Dad we should go to therapy. Tell your dad to stop being so stubborn. Tell Dad that he is hurting the family. Classic manipulation, made to place me in a situation where I couldn't win. If I talked to the kids, I was bringing them into my concerns as an adult. If I didn't answer, people would think I was a jerk who didn't care about my family. She was fully aware of what she was doing. That's when I switched from being separated to being fully divorced. When someone tries to turn your kids against you, you have to fight back. It was supposed to be easy for Julia to turn 18. She had requested for a low-key event since she was worried about ESATs and didn't want a big show. I should have known better. In my family, uncomplicated and no drama are two things that can't happen at the same time. The first hour went well. We were able to talk normally about Julia's classes, Nate's wrestling season, and Luke's plans for the summer holiday. Even my in-laws were on their best behavior, but her dad kept giving me strange looks. Claire was there with her boyfriend. He's a kind guy, but you can tell he's apprehensive because he knows he's stepped into a family issue and doesn't know where the grenades are coming from. Smart youngster, perhaps the only one who knows what's going on. We had pizza from Julia's favorite restaurant. The main idea was to make Julia happy, and she did. She's probably been the most affected by all of this, because she's the youngest and still lives at home. After that, my wife decided to make a toast. She stood up with her Diet Coke and had that look in her eyes that said she was about to say something that would make everyone feel bad. I tried to get her attention by shaking my head or anything else to say, "Don't do this here," but she was already in full show mode. I simply want to say how great it is that the complete family is here for such a big day. She looks around the table like she's getting an award. Family is the most essential thing, and I hope we can always find ways to stay connected, no matter what happens. Silence. Everyone understood what she was truly saying. Nate set down his fork and gazed at her like she had just begun speaking German. Luke moved around in his chair. Julia's cheeks turned red. Nate murmured gently, "Mom, please don't do this. Not tonight." But Claire couldn't let it go. "What's wrong with wanting the family to stay together?" she asked, coming to her mom's rescue like she often does. "She just wants us to know she loves us." Julia, the kind and gentle girl who never creates trouble, put down her pizza slice and looked straight at her elder sister. "Stop, Claire. You really don't want the family to stay together. You don't want anyone to know that you've been helping your mom hide her affair." I could hear the refrigerator humming in the kitchen after the silence. It looked like my in-laws had been hit with a stun gun. Luke's mouth dropped open. Nate's eyes got big. The partner looked uneasy, too, because he didn't know many people. My wife tried to say something, but nothing came out. She opened and closed her mouth like a fish. Claire started to cry and stutter that she didn't do anything, but Julia wasn't done. She went on, "I'm not dumb. I've known for months that the stories about where Mom was going were not true. The texts that were erased. The way you would protect her when Dad asked questions. I've been watching this family fall apart while everyone acted like everything was fine. And I'm sick of it." After that, she left the table and went to her room. The room blew up. Claire is crying. Fiona attempting to make sense of it. My in-laws wanted to know what the heck was going on. Luke asked if someone could kindly tell him what was going on. Nate merely sat there with a blank look on his face, as if someone had informed him Santa Claus was real, but also a killer who kills people over and over again. I rose up, grabbed my keys, and spoke to the room as if I were ending a meeting with staff that wasn't going well. "The party is ended. It's time for everyone to go." Took me roughly 3 minutes to clean the house. My in-laws went without saying goodbye. Claire went, still crying, with her boyfriend, who was still perplexed, following her. Nate walked to his room, where he undoubtedly texted his friends to find out what the hell just happened. I told Fiona to go stay at her parents' place for the night instead of talking. Tomorrow, our lawyers will deal with the aftermath. I discovered Julia in her room, sitting on her bed, looking quite tired. I told her I was sorry her birthday was ruined. She said it wasn't ruined. I'm just sick of everyone acting like they care. It's preferable to have everything out in the open. Kid is smart. How long have you been aware? I asked. Since last summer. I got home from soccer camp early and discovered Mom's car parked at a guy's apartment building. Later, when I asked her about it, she lied. After that, I began to pay attention to the other lies. Why didn't you say anything? She shook her head. What was I supposed to say? Hi, Dad. I believe your mother is cheating on you. You all have to work things out on your own. I held her and told her that she was the best thing her mom and I ever did together. It was true. Then I went downstairs and thought about how an 18-year-old had just acted more grown-up than anyone else in her family. Nate caught me in the kitchen at approximately midnight. He asked, "How long have you known that Mom was cheating?" "A few months." Claire knew. It seems like he thought about it for a minute. "Dad, that's sir." I said language without thinking, but then I realized how silly it was given the situation. But yeah, it's pretty sir. I didn't talk to Claire again for 6 months after that. Not to punish her or be mean, but because I couldn't trust her anymore. You can't talk to someone who lies to their family and chooses to do so. That's all there is to it. Some folks thought it was too harsh. I called it setting limits. So here we are 8 months later. The discovery phase is over. The talks over a settlement aren't going anywhere. And my lawyer gets really excited every time she looks at our case file. The irony is lovely. Her parents spent a lot of money on the prenup to keep their money safe from a son-in-law who was trying to get it. After that, they lost their money. Then their daughter lied. And now that same prenup is hurting her. Here's how it's all turning out. There was no maintenance alimony at all. The prenup specifies that there will be no spousal support when the youngest child turns 18. That window slammed shut because Julia just turned 18. Lawyer's fees. Because of the infidelity clause and my folder of proof, she has to pay her own legal fees while I pay mine. My lawyer thinks she has already spent $30,000 on lawyers. I've spent roughly $8,000, but I'll get it back. This is when it gets really good. The house. We own it completely. No mortgage, no liens, simply a house worth roughly $400,000 that is paid off. According to the prenup, we will split the equity after paying any costs that come up after the divorce. Since we broke up, I've been paying all the bills for electricity, insurance, property taxes, and upkeep. That comes to around $3,000 a month in carrying charges that I can take out of her share of the equity. 3,000 times 8 months is 24,000 in offsets and counting. She wants to keep the house, but she can't afford to pay me off. No money, no credit. Parents don't have any money. A bank isn't exactly lining up to lend a 48-year-old lady with no job history a $200,000 mortgage. Accounts for retirement. My 401k from before I got married is still mine. The method splits the increase during the marriage, but since I've been putting in the most money for 20 years, most of the value is before the marriage or after the separation. She might get about $40,000 from her retirement accounts. Everything else, cars, furniture, and personal things. We keep everything we contributed to the marriage and whatever more we can agree on. There's not much to argue about there. It's easy to do the math. She might get around $200,000 from the sale of the house, minus her share of the offsets. $40,000 from her retirement savings, her car, and the furniture she bought. The total net worth is about $220,000. It's not awful for someone who hasn't worked in 20 years, but it's not enough to keep up with the way she's used to living. You can't maintain volunteering for wine club and dating people with motorcycles at the same time. My side, $200,000 from the house, my retirement money, my car, and no more debts to someone who chose to end our marriage. Plus, I can keep working and making decent money while she looks into what 48-year-old women with liberal arts degrees do for work. Her parents were going crazy. They kept trying to get involved, telling us to work things out or think about the kids. Her dad had the nerve to call me and say that I was being too severe, given how long we had known each other as a family. For 20 years, you treated me like I was your hired worker. We're not really related by blood. I informed him that the prenup was his idea, that his lawyer wrote the terms, and that I was merely letting the contract do what contracts do. He hung up on me. Fiona has moved home with her parents, which must be a special brand of torment for everyone. 3 people who are broke live together and blame each other for their problems. Everyone was upset at me for enforcing the prenup. Her parents were mad at her for cheating, and she was mad at them for the prenup. Claire is still trying to make amends by texting me about how everyone makes errors and how to forgive family members. I don't answer. Maybe we'll drink coffee and I'll listen to her when this is all over. But for now, she's still the team mom, and I don't want to be controlled by a 22-year-old who helped cover up an affair. The other 3 kids are doing well. Nate's wrestling season is going very well. Luke got into the college he wanted to attend to, and Julia made the honor roll again. They've all gotten used to the new normal better than the adults have. They understand. We're going to court. Her lawyer keeps making settlement offers that don't follow the provisions of the prenup. My lawyer continues telling them that contracts are binding. If she doesn't accept reality soon, we'll let a judge decide. I don't care about the court. Judges deal with this kind of thing every day. We have a clear contract, a lot of proof of cheating, and a lot of paperwork. I just got a text from my lawyer while I'm writing this last update. My ex-wife's lawyer contacted to talk about a fair settlement that takes the prenup terms into account. They finally read the contract and understood they're in trouble. But it was too late. I was done talking to people who had been trying to change reality for months. We had to go to court. The judge looked over the prenup, my evidence folder, and Fiona's lawyer trying to say that a 4-month affair wasn't truly cheating. And you could see her making her decision right away. My lawyer lay out the evidence like she was giving a PowerPoint presentation to business leaders. Hundreds of pages of documents, including cell phone records, credit card transactions, GPS data, and hotel receipts. Fiona's side tried the standard _ unfair contract and altered circumstances. Remember the kids. Her parents got on the stand and cried, saying that they never meant for the prenup to be this harsh and that it was aimed to keep them from getting married. After that, they called Jason to the stand. The guy came in looking like he would rather be having a root canal. He practically affirmed everything when under oath. The schedule, the hotels, everything. Her lawyer asked if he forced her into the affair. Jason smiled and explained that she was the one who chased him. Real romance. Fiona sought to use the moment of weakness defense when she testified. She cried on the stand and talked about how she felt unappreciated. But when my lawyer started questioning about the lies, all the lies she told me and the kids, she lost it. Had to admit that she had involved Claire and was hiding her travels to Jason's place. It didn't take the judge long to make a decision. Came back from break and basically said that the prenup was clear, the proof was strong, and contracts are binding. The prenup is fully in effect. And because of the infidelity clause, Fiona has to pay both sides legal bills, which add up to nearly $45,000. What happened next was exactly what you'd expect. The prenup said that the house would be sold and the money would be split up. Everything was finished just like the contract indicated it would be. After all the offsets I'd been adding up, Fiona got around $180,000 from the house. She also got $38,000 from retirement savings, her car, and any furniture she chose. Then she got a $45,000 legal charge that took a significant chunk out of her payout. I kept $220,000 from the house, all my retirement money, my car, and no ongoing obligations to someone who chose to meet in hotel rooms instead of staying married for 20 years. But this is where it gets very good. Jason broke up with her 2 weeks after the trial. It turns out that having sex with a married woman is a lot more fun when there's real forbidden fruit involved. At one point, she was simply another broke divorcee with money difficulties, and the poetry guy lost interest. Fiona got a job at a department shop and made $12 an hour. She lived in her childhood bedroom. To help pay for her legal fees, her parents had to sell their house. But they owed more than it was worth. They ended up taking out a loan against the little equity they had left merely to pay for the lawyer's expenses. The kids are doing well. Julia is doing great in college. Nate made the varsity wrestling team. Luke knows what he wants to do with his life. They may see their mom whenever they want, but they don't want to pretend that everything is fine when it's not. After roughly 6 months of me not answering her, Claire finally quit attempting to be a family counselor. We should all text each other to say we're sorry. You burn some bridges and some bridges burn themselves. That's all there is to it. Reddit. I signed a contract 21 years ago that I assumed would never matter. Turns out that was the best legal paper I ever signed. Her parents' greedy prenup ruined her life. Things are going well.